Hey guys, Taylor here, martial arts tutor. I got a new video for you guys today. This one's going to be a rant on forms, also known as kata or poomsae. Those are the same exact things, okay? Now, before I get started, I just want to let you guys know a little bit about my background. If you haven't met me yet, you're seeing me on Instagram for the first time, be sure to follow me on Instagram. If you're watching this in our private Facebook group, then you don't need to worry about that. But anyway, just to give you guys my background, I was a traditional martial artist first, okay? I did Taekwondo for over 15 years, okay? I have studied it extensively. I was really into forms, so much so that that was really like a passionate part of my training. Like I would compete in forms. You guys know that big gigantic trophy that you've probably seen in my school. That was from a forms competition, right? I was really into forms. So for anybody that's feeling like I don't know what they're talking about, like I have done forms, right? I've done it for years. I know what it's about. So here's the biggest argument or biggest thing that people say about forms, and it drives me nuts. And it is the fact that, well, bro, you're not seeing the true meaning of forms. You know, they can be used for fighting. You're just not seeing the true meaning, right? And they like to relate it to like the Mr. Miyagi thing, right? Where Daniel's washing the car and then, doing wax on, wax off. And then suddenly when he fights, he's, oh, wax on, wax off, okay? The problem with this is that people are kind of forcing an agenda, okay? They're kind of forcing this idea that you need to do forms, right? And trust me, guys, I know this. I was that person, right? I personally believe there was a period of my life where I believed that you're not a martial artist unless you do forms, right? And I know there's a lot of you guys out there that think that same thing, right? And if you're not, and you wanna spread this information, like tag a friend in this video that you think needs to hear this, okay? So here's the thing with forms, okay, guys? Forms is like the majority of a lot of martial arts training, okay? And kata and poomsae, they're the same thing. That's what I'm saying. They're a huge fundamental part of the martial arts training. Now, if you're an instructor, I want to honestly ask yourself this question. What is easier to do? Is it easier for you to teach a group of 20 people how to do chunji, or to teach a group of 20 people how to actually fight? Okay, when I say how to actually fight, how to show them a slip cross combination or a slip cross roll hook combination, right? Something where somebody's attacking them, they're slipping the jab, throwing a cross, they throw a hook, you roll under, throw a hook, okay? If it already sounds confusing, imagine teaching it, right? And same thing with jiu-jitsu, I'll relate it to jiu-jitsu, right? Is it easier to teach someone how to, do an armbar from guard, okay? Or is it easier for them just to kind of roll on their back and do an armbar drill in the air? Like, what is easier, right? You probably pick the latter, right? You probably pick something like either forms or just kind of rolling on their back, doing things in the air. Now, not saying those things are invalid. Not saying that at all. I'm just saying when it comes to forms, okay, most people would pick that. Instructors would pick that. And why? Because it's easier to teach a group of people, right? And this is where the whole forms things come to play, right? Like, as an instructor, I used to teach forms, and to be totally honest, it was a lot easier for me to teach people forms than to teach them how to fight. Like, it was so much easier to do that than to teach them actual combinations, right? Because they're more strict, they're more rigid motions, they're kind of, set in stone, right? Whereas with fighting, there's a lot of more variables going on, and this applies to grappling too. There's a lot of variables going on, right? You can't just drill, single leg takedowns unless you actually, until you spar. Then there's a lot of other things going down, right? So the big problem with forms is that people have a huge attachment to it. They have a very death-gripping attachment to it. And I actually went to a seminar, I don't know, a long time ago, maybe 7 years ago, 7 years ago, okay? And the instructor said, he was talking about how there was a school in town, there's a Taekwondo school, it's a pure Olympic Taekwondo sparring school, okay? Pure Olympic, that's all they focused on. They're focused on getting their athletes, the martial artists to the Olympics, right? Competing at a high level, which is great. I think that's awesome. However, he said that one of their yellow belts was great at sparring. He was amazing. She was amazing at sparring. She beat up green belts. She beat up brown belts. She was really good at sparring. Okay, but then he kind of like sighed and said like, well, but she didn't know chunji or dangun, which are like the first two forms in Taekwondo, and he kind of disregarded her as a martial artist just because she didn't know those forms, right? And she kind of talked her down, and I'm like, of course she wasn't there, okay, but like, okay, really? You're gonna talk down somebody because they don't do forms? Like, the thing is with forms, you guys, I can see why people like to do it. It feels good, right? It feels good. It feels like you're doing something. It feels like you're fighting, right? Without actually fighting, it feels like it, if you visualize it, especially if you got really into the forms like I did. I used to get really into forms, and it kind of, put me on a path towards a career of wanting to be an actor. Like, that was kind of my first martial arts path. I was like, okay, obviously I'm not going to be a fighter, so I'd rather do stuff in movies. Until I stepped into the boxing ring for the first time. And tried it out, and then I tried jiu-jitsu out, and I was like really shocked. I was like, oh my gosh, all these forms that I learned, were essentially useless against a real fight. And people say like, oh, you just didn't see the real meaning, you didn't see all that. That's nonsense. Come on, you guys. There's nonsense. There's no other martial art, especially in the combat sport world, has you do things like that have no value, right? There's things in there that you do that are very applicable to what you're actually doing. This is a fundamental truth about just anything, any sport, right? The said principle. Okay, the said principle, it's a scientific term, means that, basically means whatever you practice similar to the actual event is going to pay off, right? It's kind of like if I'm a track and field runner, okay? I'm not going to go swimming. Now, will swimming help? Sure, it's going to make my heart healthier, okay? But if I want to get good at running an 800-meter dash, I'm going to run 800 meters, right? Or I'm going to run on the track. I'm going to exercise my muscle in the same exact way, right? Same thing with martial arts. I don't know why people have this weird Confucius Eastern stuff going on. They think where there's always hidden stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. There are definitely some hidden stuff in combat sports, in Muay Thai, in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, in wrestling, even in Taekwondo. There are some hidden stuff that I'm discovering that are coming to me. But I've never gotten exact 100% this form is applied for this. Some people say the argument that low block is it's like the defense against a teep, right? It's the defense against a teep. That motion where you do this, defense against a teep. Okay, that's just people forcing what they do and just kind of putting it in there, right? You know what I'm saying, right? They're forcing a low block to work under the context of Muay Thai, where Muay Thai people, they don't practice low blocks. Right? They don't do that. Same thing I've heard with wrestling. Some people are saying a spear hand is a wrestling technique. It's not a wrestling technique. I don't see wrestlers, and plus you got to think of the context of the martial art, karate, Shotokan karate, Kyokushin karate, Taekwondo, Olympic style, ITF or WTF. When they do their forms, they don't grapple, right? You do realize that they don't, maybe they do a few little maneuvers here and there, but they don't do that because they don't apply the technique. It's kind of weird how people kind of force something in there. I hope this is making sense. That's the problem I have with forms, is that people are trying to force this. You've probably seen this, right? This Okinawan karate and MMA video, right, where it shows John Jones doing spinning elbows, and then it shows karate practitioners doing spinning elbows. It shows John Jones, throwing some kicks, and then throwing a lot of elbow techniques. And it's all Muay Thai. It's not Kyokushin. Obviously the movements are similar, okay? But there's a huge difference between applying it under somebody fighting you back than just hitting it in the air, okay? And like I said, there are some good things to it. There's some good things, shadow boxing is a great way, okay? But you're not going to be standing in a front stance or horse stance when you're doing this stuff. It doesn't happen, right? So that's my little rant on forms. Curious to hear you guys' thoughts. Now, if you feel like someone needs to hear this, right? Hear this message, tag them in the comments below, add them to this group, okay? I want you guys to be engaged in this group. Feel free to comment what you want. Feel free to post anything you want to share, okay? Hope you guys have a great weekend, and I'll talk to y'all later.